Hey, Kingdom Scribes. Welcome back to the Author's Corner podcast with your host, Tiffany Dillard. This podcast is a space where faith meets the written word. Every week, we dive into the heart of the writing journey. Whether you're journaling from your kitchen table or preparing to publish your next book, this podcast is where it's at with all of the information, all of the things when it comes to helping you write and helping you get that book published. So today's episode is all about something that goes deeper than writing goals or word counts. We're talking about your passion for writing, your why. Okay, your why. So we're going to talk about what fuels your voice, what message burns in you that has to be shared. So grab your tea, grab your journal, and let's get into it. Welcome back. Let's get into this conversation about passion. So when I talk about passion, I don't mean butterflies or fleeting inspiration. I mean that deep inner fire, the thing that keeps you going when the excitement fades and life gets busy. Like, I want us to tap into that passion that when all the things are happening and you don't know which way you're going, or even if God has not fully given you all of the instructions, you still are going to write. Writing isn't always glamorous. It's not. Sometimes it's 2 a.m. and you're staring at a blinking cursor, like the little cursor on your computer. It's just blinking and you're trying to figure out, like, God, what are we going to be writing about? What do you want to talk about? And he hasn't even given it to you yet. You may have an outline of idea of the topics, but he hasn't given you the substance to fill in that framework of your book. So you're just sitting there waiting for him to download into you what you need to say. Because if you're connected to the Author's Corner podcast and you're connected to New Voice Books, we do things with God. We don't do things on our own. We're not just writing books to write books. We are writing books with purpose because it is our purpose. So, what keeps your fingers moving? What keeps you continuing to come back to that computer, come back to that laptop, open up that tablet, or even open up your phone when you don't have all of the things, you don't have all the details? What keeps you continuing to say, I'm going to move forward and continue to do what I need to do? So if I don't have the manuscript, then maybe I'll go over here and work on my book cover. You know, if I don't have the book cover, then maybe I'll start going and looking up how to put together a book launch and what all that entails. You know, I'm going to still do something that is connected to the process of this book, the publishing of this book. Or I may just stay in a place where I'm just going to continue to pray and stay in the presence of God. And when he's ready to move, I'm going to be ready in position. Like, I'm not going to be all over the place and so focused on one thing or another. I'm still going to be ready and available to receive what he has for me. That passion. So let me ask you this, and I want you to write these questions down. What stories or lessons feel assigned to you? I know for me, my story, the reflection of me, and sharing my story of how God delivered me from domestic violence, restored my voice, healed me. He even corrected me in that process. And then, gave me beauty from ashes, and that he helped me to understand that I was loved by him, that even though I was disobedient and I disregarded some things that he told me not to do, that he still is that God that will save us. He's still a God that will redeem us. And that was important because sometimes we don't always do what God tells us to do. And we mess around and find out. We mess around and find out that what he said was true, That it wasn't just a figment of our imagination or the enemy telling us something. That was God telling us, no, don't go down that road. No, don't marry that man in my case. No, it's not time for you to build the business. No, you don't need to go apply for that job. No, it's not time for you to buy that house yet. I just sent you to the home owner seminar so that way you can learn. But I had to share that story so people can know that God is a redeemer. You know, he didn't stop at redemption when Jesus died on the cross. He is continuing to redeem us and help us to get back into right standing with him. Another question that I want you to write down and I want you to answer for yourself is, what message do you feel responsible to release in the world? My message, and I want you to write them down and you answer them for yourself, but I'm going to answer them live so you can have my answer and know what my response is. So my message, and that I felt responsible to share, is that you can be free. You don't have to be bound to a certain season of your life. You don't have to accept the narrative of someone else. You don't have to continue to live a life that is false and that is not true, because you don't know which way to go. You don't have to remain quiet because you don't want to tarnish somebody else's image or how somebody else sees them and it's not really tarnishing it when you're telling the truth. But to them, they may feel like you're tarnishing their image, but you have to share your truth. You have to release your truth so other people can know that they can be healed. Domestic violence is a broad topic. And so when God was telling me to write about it, I was like, wow, like this topic has its own month. Like, what can I add to this story that has not already been told? And he said, freedom. And I was like, wow. Like, okay, so my message was to share with the people freedom, how he can set me free, how he did set me free. I felt like that in this relationship, that's where I was supposed to be, and it wasn't. And he was like, no, I can set you free. I can set you free in your mind. I can set you free in your heart. And I can restore all things and make things new. And he did that. So my message that I felt responsible to share was freedom. Freedom. Another reason is that for me, I had to share my passion for writing, because my passion for writing was born in pain and purpose, because I had to go through some things before I had a story to tell. I'm not saying that life was all perfect for me before all of that, because it wasn't. But there was something that God wanted to share with the world, and I had to endure it. That was just part of my story. And he took that part of my story and said, hey, that's what I want you to talk about. It came from journaling through heartbreak, testifying about healing, realizing my words were making space for someone else to breathe, to be free. That's when I knew that this wasn't a gift, it was a calling. That's when I knew that New Voice Books was not just a business for me to make money, but it was a ministry. Because not only did I have to know why I needed to share my story, why I needed to use my voice in the earth, I also had to know why I was called to help someone else. Because soon as God brought me out of that, and he brought back to my memory the prophecy that was prophesied to me when I was 16, that said that I would write books and songs that would be sung and read all over the world. God reminded me of that. He said that word is still true. Because I was like, surely it's not. But that word is still true. And he said, and because that word is still true, I need you to go and get my kingdom scribes and help them share their voices with the world. Help them to share their stories with the world. Help them to stand in confidence in their voice, to where they won't back down when somebody says that I don't understand that. That don't make no sense to me. because I could have did that when it came to domestic violence. People were like, well, why did you stay? I don't understand. But my book helped them to understand. It gave them insight on the mind of a person who is dealing with domestic violence, and not just physical, emotional, and mental. It helps some people to learn that they were in a domestic violence relationship because they thought that domestic violence was only physical. They didn't know that it was mental and emotional as well. And so if I never shared that, some people would have been educated. And you may say, well, Tiffany, domestic violence is something that everybody knows about. They don't. Because domestic violence is not everything that somebody, it's not a topic. I'm gonna get this out. Domestic violence is not a topic that everybody wants to talk about. It's something that just want to be shushed over to the side, swept under the rug. Somebody that may have dealt with it, but nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to deal with it. And so God was like, no, share it. It's your calling. It's your calling not only to help those that are attached to my sound and my voice and the writings that God will produce through me, but it is also my calling to help you, Kingdom Scribe, get your book published. Whether you're just tuning into the podcast and you are taking notes from the information that is provided, or if you connect with New Voice Books directly. And I want to just interject this right here. So New Voice Books, we are a Christian book publishing company. So we do help Kingdom Scribes stand in confidence behind their words and in standing confidence in their voices. We have an all-inclusive book publishing package that will help you to publish your book. We help you with all of the things from the editing portion of it, formatting, proofreading, developmental editing, copy line editing. We have packages that include your book cover. We have packages that include copyright registration with the Library of Congress. We help you with global distribution, so we provide you with your ISBN number. We do marketing coaching. So as we're working with you with your manuscript, we help you with marketing coaching so you can get prepared to promote your book, when to start doing pre-sales. We can help you with book excerpts and stuff like that, marketing materials. We have services that offer that. We do ebooks. We have, and I'm saying this because God is telling me to say this, but this was a big leap for me. But we have just now opened up publishing for children's books called Kingdom Kids Publishing. So you can find that information, find out that information as well too on our website. And I'll give you that website information in a minute. We have some packages that provide you, that include all of the services that I just mentioned. And it also will include like a landing page in some packages, and also websites in some packages. So we try to make sure that everything you need from A to Z, we can offer it, and we provide it within those packages. So you don't have to go to this person, that person, this person, that person to get the book published, because that can become a lot and that can make the whole process overwhelming, because you're having to go to all of these different people to get things done. So we at New Voice Books will make sure that you have everything you need so you can go from writing to publishing. We provide Kingdom Scribe mentorship program to where if you want to just do it yourself and you don't want to go through a publisher, but you want to know how to do it and what systems that you can use, and you just need all the information. We have that as well too. If you're one that's saying, well, I'm already in the process, I just really have some questions and I want to ask those questions, I am open for one-on-one coaching. That's information you can find out on the website as well too. What else? I'm just trying to make sure, you know what I'm saying, I'm giving you everything. But go to nvpublishingco.com and you can find out everything about New Voice Books. It is on there. All of the things that we offer, it is on there. We have an online store where you can get a t-shirt, where you can get a journal. The latest books that I published was Marriage Conversation with God, and the children's book Destiny and Layla's Big Book Adventure. That's on the website as well. So again, you can go to nvpublishingco.com and you can check out the book publishing packages. You can check out Kingdom Kids Publishing. You can check out it all. I don't want to have you out here trying to search around and trying to figure out where to go. And I'm going to always tell you, pray to make sure that New Voice Books is who you need to work with. And you may say, well, Tiffany, that's messing with your money. No, it's not. It's not. Because I want you to know who you need to work with. Because New Voice Books is going to be all right, because New Voice Books belongs to God. So God is going to bring the clients and the kingdom scribes that we are supposed to work with. But I don't want you to feel like that, you know, well, I'm obligated to work with them. No, you're not. Pray and ask God. And if God say go and connect with New Voice Books, we waiting on you. Okay. All right. So that's enough for the little ad, the little insert ad there. Let's get back to it. So, where does passion come from? Take a moment and think about that. Where does passion come from? Your passion doesn't always show up loud. Sometimes it's a soft nudge that grows louder over time. So it can come from a childhood love of books. It can come from a moment of transformation or trauma. Passion can come from a word God gave you in prayer, or a holy frustration like, why hasn't anyone told this story? Like, why is nobody talking about this? It can come from that. You might write for healing. You might write for the next generation. You may be write for that woman who feels unseen. You may write for that younger version of yourself who needed to hear the truth. And I wrote for the younger version of myself in The Reflection of Me, because she needed to be heard. She had a voice. There was pain in her. And sometimes we kind of overlook people's pain because of how their life is looking. So we don't think, well, surely you couldn't be going through anything. But she was. She was. She was. And that book is in the bookstore as well. But she was. She was going through all of the things. And so you may need to write for that younger self. And that may help unlock somebody else's younger self, where they're like, you know what? I've been wanting to just really tap into that part of me, because that's the part of me that continues to show up in my life and cause me to react in certain ways and respond and see life in a certain way. And that caused me, cause you to be healed in that way, because I know it caused me to be healed in that way. Dealing with your younger self, allowing your younger self to accept the truth about people, about what happened, that it did happen. But you don't have to stay in that place of what happened to you or where it happened to you, because we can get stuck in our pain. You don't have to be anchored to that. You can be free. If your writing feels scared, it's because it is. If you feel scared in writing, it's because you're stepping into the unknown. And that's a true emotion. If you feel like when you start writing, you feel nervous, like, man, I know I do. Even with writing the second book, even with helping other kingdom scribes publish their books, I feel fearful. I feel scared at times. But I still have to push through. If your writing feels sacred, it's because it is. God has given you something, and he is letting you know that this word, your story is important, and I need for you to get it out. I don't need for you to just put it out like it's just some part of some gossip column. I need you to put it out, and I need you to share it with the world to let them know that you have something to say. God, has something to say through you. You are my microphone on earth. I need to set some other people free, and they're not connected to a church, or it's not being heard over the platform, but they will hear it in your book. So whether your writing feels scary and you feel fearful, keep moving forward because you still have something to say. And if it feels weighty and it feels sacred and you're feeling like, I don't know, I don't want to mess this up, you're not going to mess it up because you're doing it with God. Perfection comes from him, not from you. Okay? It comes from you. Comes from him, not you. And if you've been questioning your passion, let me remind you, your story carries power. Your voice is valid. Your words are needed. I'm going to say that again. Your story carries power. Your voice is valid. Your words are needed. And I'm going to put that on the shirt. I am. So you may be wondering, well, how does passion shape my voice? You know, how does my passion show up in my voice? When you write from your passion, your voice becomes clear. You're not just echoing trends, you're rooted in truth. You want people to know what they need to know. And you're passionate about making sure they know what they need to know. You're not just out here just writing just to write. Or like I just said, just keeping up with trends. You're not doing it. You know that your words and your story will change lives. That's why I say that to you all. And I remind myself that our stories are going to change lives. So we can't just be out here just writing anything. We can't just be out here just putting out anything just because. No, we're not going to be AI writers. Because I seen on was it YouTube? I seen on YouTube where it was like this service now to where you can become an author by letting AI write a whole book for you, do the cover, do the book description, do all the things. And then you can put the book out and sell it on Amazon or something. And I was like, where's the passion in that? Where's the passion in it? Because writing is a process. So it's more than just giving Chat GPT or the whatever AI system you use 2 sentences and then they write a whole book for you. And then 2 weeks later, you're an author. You didn't put no skin in the game. You didn't put no blood, sweat, and tears in it. There was no story behind it. So when somebody says, what was your process? Oh, I just gave AI 2 sentences and here I got a book. There was no investment in it. So how is passion going to show up in that? You know? How is passion going to show up in that? But with you can write and write the truth. And your story is the truth. And you may say, well, people don't really like my story. It don't matter what they like. You're telling your story. They can't tell you not to tell your story. Even if it makes them feel uncomfortable. You have to tell your story. Somebody needs your story. Passion helps you find your niche. It becomes your compass. It becomes your guide. If you're passionate about inner healing, guess what? Your writing will carry that tone of freedom. If you're passionate about identity and purpose, your words will be bold and affirming. What your passion is, your voice is going to show up in your writing. What your passion is going to cause your voice to show up strong in your writing. Passion isn't just about what you write, it's about how you write. How you're writing. Not about what you write, but how you write. When I write, we're having a conversation because I want you to not just be reading, but I want you to feel as if I'm sitting there right across from you and we're having a conversation. And there are times where there will be a question and I will give an answer because I know that somebody may be asking me that question, and I'll give the answer in it because we're having a conversation, because I can hear you asking me the question, and then I will turn around and just answer it because I want us to continue to have a conversation. There'll be some moments where I'm teaching something and I'm breaking something down because I want you to leave that chapter with clear understanding. I don't want you to close my book and be wondering like, well, why this and why that and why that? Not to say that you won't have questions, but you will be clear on what I'm saying in the book. So once you get done with the book, you have a clear understanding of the story. And then afterwards, if there's still more questions that you want to ask, because that happens, that's the whole point of a book launch Q&A. Or if you're doing an in-person book launch, people are going to have questions, and then that's like the after party of the book, and then you can continue to keep that conversation going, because that's what you want your book to do, is continue to be a conversation starter. So again, passion isn't just about what you write, it's about how you write. And that energy, your readers feel it. Because there have been so many times where people have read the reflection of me, and there are people that have known me for a long time, and some people that are just getting to know me, and they be like, Tiffany, you took us on a roller coaster ride. Like, we felt every emotion that you felt, because I wrote that book with passion. I allowed that fire to be my compass. And they like, and some people came to me and was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you went through this. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. And I'm like, I'm good. But it was like, but I felt the love of God. I felt the love of God. I seen the love of God when it came to your story. And that's because I wrote the book in truth, my truth. I wrote the book with God, number one. And I also wrote with passion. Your readers are drawn to the fire in your words. And the right readers will find you when you're writing from your authentic place. AI can write for you from an authentic place. Now you may say, well, Tiffany, I did an ebook. Yeah, that's fine, because you're just giving some points. But when you're writing a full book, it needs to be from you. And that means you need to connect with God. That means you need to sit with God. That means you need to ask God which way you should be going. So that way you're not getting caught up in doing things quickly, and then you lose your audience because you're trying to put out a book real quick because you're trying to get the money, instead of thinking about the person on the other side of that book. Because if God told you to write the book, it's going to be sustained and it's going to bring forth income. So you won't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that at all. Because like I talked about in last episode, when we talked about creating digital products, God gave you an idea. So his word says that he gives us the power to generate wealth. So therefore, if he gives you the power, he gives you the idea, he gives you the instructions, he gives you the tools and resources, he gives you the people, it's going to get done and it's going to produce how it needs to produce. But if you're one that's saying, I need this to take off right now, I'm trying to get this to take off right now, then you're going to go to AI. But that's not going to come from an authentic place. Your readers are not going to get to know you, because that's why they're reading your books, to get to know you, to hear your sound. And a computer can put something together that may sound like you, but it's different when you put your heart into what you're doing. It's different. So let's talk about keeping the fire lit, because it can go out. It can go out. It can go out. And I want us to keep the fire lit. So Let's talk about when the passion fades. Life gets noisy, doubts creep in, the blank page starts to be intimidating. So, how do we keep that fire burning? Here are a few ways that work for me. So I'm gonna share that with you. One is prayer and quiet time. I let God refill me before I pour out. So there were times when I was writing the reflection of me, and then during that time that I was writing, God was also healing me. And I got to revise my book, and he did some more healing when I did the revision. But when I first wrote the book, God was working in me. And there were times that we had to go back down memory lane and go that memory I had suppressed in my mind, and I didn't want to go back down that lane. I didn't want to feel those things. But God was like, you're going to have to. And so in the midst of me walking back down that lane, and that the remembrance of that memory and everything that happened came back to surface, is what pushed behind the passion that I had to write this book. And I was writing real time emotion as I was feeling those emotions, as God was healing those places in me. And so I was able to pour out. But there were times where God was like, okay, after you write this chapter, take a break. And I had to get in my prayer time with God, and I had to allow him to fill me up. I had to allow him to complete the healing that he started as I was writing that chapter. And then I came back to finish what I started. Community helped me. There were a lot of writing community groups that I was connected to. A lot of people that were writing. And it was crazy because before I started writing the book, I didn't know anybody that was writing a book. And once I got connected to my writing coach, it was like the door opened to all kind of people that were writing books. Her community, this person had a community. And it was like everybody was in these communities and together helping each other write, or passing information, or providing services to get things done. And so being around other writers reminded me that I was not alone. And that's why I created the Kingdom Scribe community, to keep that spark alive. And you can connect to the Kingdom Scribe community on Facebook. So follow the New Voice Books page, and you can also join the Kingdom Scribe community on Facebook. And then another way that helped me to keep the passion and keep the fire burning was remembering my why. When it got too hard, when it got too heavy, I had to remember my why. I would go back to my journals. I would reread that mission that I wrote from the beginning, because I do have a mission statement that I wrote down. So I would pray and ask God, what is my mission statement? What am I doing? And I advise you to do the same. Pray and ask God, what is my mission statement? What is the purpose of my life here on earth? What am I here to do? And he gave it to me, and I wrote it down. I may share it with you guys, but if he tells me to. But I did. I wrote a mission statement down, and I would go back and read that mission statement to remind me of who I am and what I have been called to do. And that helped me continue to stay motivated, because my why still matters. I have to go back to the core of things and understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. Why am I sharing my business with the world? Why? And sometimes at first I was kind of, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, because at first, like, my book, some people bought my book. It wasn't like a boom, a takeoff, but I did have a good run to where people were buying my books, and I was thankful for that, and I'm still thankful for it. But then when things got quiet, I was like, oh, okay. because nobody else is reading my story out. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm straight. I did what it's like I conquered it, and so I'm like, okay, let's move on. But it's like, no, that's not it. Holy Spirit kept telling me, no, don't settle in with, this little this little platform, if I can say it in that way. Just don't settle for just what just happened to, the few that have bought your book, because this book is going to go worldwide. You're going to be on platforms talking about this book, and the testimony that I can share is that Reverend Solomon, he wrote a book about his life and about deliverance from demonic curses. And he wrote that book in, I want to say, like in the 80s, and it didn't take off. It didn't. He may have had a few people that, bought copies, but it did not take off. It didn't take off. And then years later, you have someone, Prophetess Tiffany Montgomery, you have her, she reads the book for herself, so she's not, just doing this on a whim, because she didn't even know him. But she read the book for herself because this was the book that God was using to train her. And she was sharing how amazing the book is and how it was full of knowledge and wisdom. And it was a book that was necessary for our walk, and to help us to understand deeper about the spiritual things and curses and things like that in the spiritual realm. And so, of course, everybody that was part of Covered by God, we started to get the book, and I have the book myself, and it is amazing. It is amazing. It is insider information. Okay, it's on Amazon. So, and I'll put the title in the show notes, so that way if y'all looking for it, it's in the show notes. But everybody started buying it, and the book took off. It took off. That opened a door for him. But he could have got discouraged and said, "No, I'm pulling this book off the shelf. It ain't doing nothing. Nobody's looking for it. I did what you said to do, God. It's over with. I'm gone." And he's like, God was like, no, no, no. Just hold on. Hold on. Leave it where it's at. And not saying that that's maybe his thought process, but it could have been. But he left the book where it's at. He did what God told him to do. And years later, somebody else is reading the book and saying, "Hey, y'all," because Prophetess Tiffany Montgomery, she's not a gatekeeper. So she gonna share information because she is one that wants to see the people free, which that's what it's about. If you are a true servant of God, you want to see you want to see God's people free, and those that may not know God, for them to be free as well too, all souls. But now they have a relationship. That's her grandpa. That's what she called. They have their own relationship. But there was a door open for him to continue to walk through on his first book. He could have said that book is old. He could have not even responded to her. Like, that book is old. Like, you ain't got to keep sharing that book. That book is old. But no, that is still a tool that God is using today. He may have had him writing in the 80s, and it may not have been time for it in the 80s, but he had to have it done. It had to be ready to go. And then now, in this time, everybody is buying it. It is a tool and a resource to God's people when it comes to spiritual warfare, when it comes to being educated about the things in the spirit realm. And it's a now book that is taking off. And I know he gave testimony, like they're trying to translate it in different languages. Like, it has opened doors for other things. And that was a testament to me to say, hey, Tiffany, keep it ready. When God let me go revise this book, keep the passion, keep the fire ready. Go do what you need to do, because this book can take off. This book can be used. I have a friend whose book is being used as a course manual. She just wrote the book because God told her to. So you don't want to let the passion die. And if you need to, Pray. Ask God to fill you up if you get too overwhelmed. Get with the community and remember your why. Those are the 3 things that can help keep that passion fueled and on fire. Okay? So I want to give you a challenge for this week. Okay? I want to give you a challenge. I want you to take 5 minutes to journal your why. And I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. Why do I write? Who is waiting on my words? What happens when I stay silent? And when you write that out, I want you to keep it visible. So I want you to tape it to your laptop, save it to your phone. I want you to let it be your guide when you want to quit. And then feel free to share it with me. You can DM me. You can tag at New Voice Books. If you're on Instagram at New Voice Books 8080, because I would love to read it and cheer you on along the way. I want us to be connected. I want us to help encourage one another, because it may just be a push that you need to say, nope, go. You got to do it. Go. Okay. So let me give those questions one more time, because I can hear somebody saying, what's the questions again? Why do I write? Who is waiting on my words? And what happens when I stay silent? Why do I write? Who is waiting on my words? And what happens if I stay silent? Those are the questions. And tag me in it. If you do something like a reel or something like that, tag New Voice Books at New Voice Books. Okay? Because I want to be I want to get connected with you and I want to cheer you on. So that's it for today's episode. I hope this stirred something in you and reminded you that your writing has weight. Whether it's a book, a blog, or a journal entry, your words matter. I want you to be sure to subscribe, leave a review, subscribe to the channel, leave a review, and share this with a fellow writer who might need a boost today. Like, don't keep this information to yourself. Share it out. And hey, keep showing up. Keep showing up. We got one more episode left on season 3, and then I will be taking a break. And then we will be back for season 4 in May, which is my birthday month. So we will be back for season 4 in May. So keep showing up. I want you to keep writing with purpose. And don't forget, your voice is a new voice, and the world is waiting to hear it. So see you next time on the Author's Corner podcast with me, Tiffany Dillard. Be blessed.